get it easier than I can. I'm in the program.
Oh, that's right. Hold on, I'll pull it up. All right, I have a link. All right, let's start this bitch. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gary Green Show. And on that note, with Satchmo,
What's going on, people?
this is our second mashup, but we're gonna call it mashup number one because it's the first official of many to follow hereafter. And we've got a lot of somber news going on today. We're going to try to cover a little bit of it as we go along. I am getting some feed from France 24 on YouTube that I'm going to share. So I wanted to give them their proper due as we go forward. Make sure they get their credit because obviously we're a ragtag bunch of douchebags with no money, so we ain't got a camera in France. So before we get started, I want to go ahead and make sure that we put this out there too. Parental advisory is strongly, ridiculously suggested. In fact, demanded. We demand parental advisory because we don't feel like censoring ourselves, and censorship is bullshit, so we don't do that.
Exactly.
And with everything that's going on, especially, really in the past week, we're going to talk about all of it tonight. I'm sure, everything that's happening in France right now is kind of dredging it back up. So, with that being said, we're going to be definitely hitting things hard tonight.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely a somber thing that's happening in France right now. As of right now, the death toll's at 80. We don't have any idea how many casualties we have right now. It looks like, from what we're seeing, it is a terrorist attack, which would be what, their third this year officially,
Sounds like it.
and which would bring the global successful terrorist attack rate up to, I think, 9 this year globally.
God damn.
So we've got problems. And with everything that's going on here in the U.S., all the political bullshit, it's showing itself to be bullshit even more. The fact that we even have to have these discussions is bullshit within itself. Because, in all honesty, at some point you should be able to rely on the fact that people are going to figure this shit out and get it right. But instead, we are cowtailing to the terrorists and making excuses and attacking each other.
Oh yeah.
This is absolutely 100% out of control. Let's go to the live feed. I hit the wrong button, so we got live. My biz ad. Okay. Yeah, as of right now, we're up to at least 80 fatalities.
Yeah.
A truck in Nice, France, pulled up with machine guns and
Yeah.
assaulted.
They had weapons in the back. From what we were hearing earlier, straight from the news, was that bodies were strewn for about 2 kilometers. The truck was moving at a high speed for that area, upwards of 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And I mean, just through a bunch of people who were trying to have a good time. And that's usually when people decide to attack. It's, people trying to go out, have fun with their families. And some of those fatalities were children. It breaks our heart. Our thoughts are with them right now. But
It's unbelievable.
France seems to be turning into a very huge target. And, with the reason it's such a target is because it's such a tourist destination.
Yeah.
And they think that, oh, not only are we going to get sorry, Gary is having some mic issues, everybody. But I'll continue on my point here. It's just one of those things. Terrorists see an area where they know there's going to be a lot of people. They know they could do massive, massive casualties, even if they don't hit one tourist. It's going to hurt the country's GDP anyway, simply because now they're having to go on and say, okay, well, this street's locked down because we're not sure that we can secure it, or vice versa. The main thing of being a terrorist is to terrorize people. And so far, they're doing a good job of it, especially out there in France. So, yeah, it's the biggest part about all of that, though, is that we need to keep everybody together and say that we're not going to be scared at all. We're going to continue to do what we do, and we're going to continue to be happy. And yeah, no, we're not going to fuck goats. Oh, damn, David. If you're just joining the stream, ladies and gentlemen, Gary is having some technical issues. The stream will stay up. I'll continue to ramble on while he fixes his shit. But other than that, we will have continuing coverage of France here in a minute once Gary gets his stuff fixed. Oh, yeah, well, terrorists do like to fuck goats. We all know that. Get those nice goat setups with the bombs in them, so every time they go to fuck them, they explode. But as it's looking right now, Trump is actually on Fox News, I believe, talking about the attacks in France. And he flat out says this is war. And he's right. It's about time that we got tough on the terrorists. Unfortunately, and okay, Gary's coming back. Unfortunately, right now, we have a president who wants to coddle and say, it's okay, little terrorist. You can continue to attack us. We're not going to attack you. And that's not how you fucking deal with this situation. You deal with this situation by going to their country after they blow you up and saying, fuck you, and destroying their shit. Gary, what are you doing? Sorry, guys. We're having some technical difficulties on both ends here. It's what took us so long to get this back up. But yeah, our president's big concern right now is climate change. And he's even stated that that is a bigger threat to our security than anything else, which is straight up bullshit. That is not the biggest threat to our security right now. Yep, there we go. Gary's back. Good, I was continuing to ramble here. Anyway, the biggest threat right now is terrorist actions against us and our economy. There are several things against our against all of our shit. Yeah, and now I know some people say climate change is BS and stuff. I'm on the other side of that argument. I believe in climate change. I don't believe that it's going to bury us in the next 5 years. That's just not going to happen. But 50, 60 years, possibly. So let's kick it.
The big argument on the other side is significant man-made climate change.
Yeah.
So, like in my case, I don't believe in significant man-made climate change. Like, is climate change happening? Yeah. Is it significant enough for us to be extremely concerned about it today versus 60 years ago? Absolutely not. Our carbon footprint now is not even 1% of what it was 60 years ago.
Exactly.
You know, and I mean, the amount of damage we can do with what we have today is practically negligible compared to what the Earth puts out itself. So, is it good to not put out? Absolutely. Is it like a life or death situation even for the next 1,000 years? Not so much.
Yeah. And to have a president say that he is going to set our military stuff around climate change is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. The military has absolutely nothing to do with climate change. And I don't even know why he even said that.
Because it's part of his agenda.
Well, yeah, but he's also fucking retarded.
Yeah, he's also convinced that climate change is the reason terrorism is rising.
Yeah, which is idiotic as fuck.
Terrorism is fucking terrorism. Like,
yeah,
you can't fucking rub that off.
It has absolutely nothing to do with. Yeah.
What did it do?
Oh, I'm having drop issues. Just continue.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really have anything to do with the rising, quote unquote, temperature of the Earth, because you're talking about a half a degree a year at worst, and then it goes back 3 degrees a few years later. I mean, it's not. We're not talking significance here. We're talking like. That'd be like saying, oh, we're playing golf and we're winning because we're rolling the ball a quarter inch every, 3 or 4 turns. Like, is it eventually going to have an effect? Yeah, in the next 2, 3, 400 years, you might see something substantial enough, like a 2-degree change. Because you look at the global temperatures over the past, since recorded history where we actually could see temperature, and there's nothing drastic. There's heating sessions and cooling sessions, and heating sessions and cooling.
Yeah, remember, the continues to go through this.
Yeah. So remember, and this is always my argument, are we changing our climate? I think, yeah, very, very minutely. I don't think we have the power to change it that much, because you're talking about billions and billions and billions of tons of air that exist. But you remember back in the 80s, well, you were a baby then, but the 80s and the early to mid 90s, it was, oh, global warming. And then the early 2000s, global warming hit its like pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
The Inconvenient Truth came out, and
goddamn,
it's so bad. We're all gonna cook to death, and New York's gonna be underwater by 2015 because the polar ice caps are melting. And then they check it again, and they go, oh shit, the Earth is cooling. So then they tried to spin it into global cooling, and the global cooling wasn't working out for them. Because everybody said, wait, you just said global warming. You can't say global cooling now. That's backwards.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's man-made climate change.
And the other thing about that is there are several different models of climate change and how it's working for or against us. It's just like everything in science. It's a theory until it's proven.
Exactly.
I myself, the best example that I can put out there is, and I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but hell, it's like we talked in the other thing. I say what I want to say, and fuck you, I don't care. uh, you know, I'm pretty much an atheist. I don't believe in a God or anything. I do believe in evolution to a point. Uh, I'm not talking about we descended from monkeys, because that version that everybody says is evolution, that's not evolution. But everybody's always talking about evolution is just a theory. It's just a theory. Well, you know what's also a theory? Gravity. Gravity's still just a theory. You know, most of the things that you look up at as and you take for granted are still scientific theories.
Well, that's where you get the difference between like a reasonable Christian and
Yeah, there goes your mic.
yeah, dog it.
Like I said, having mic issues. But I know where he was going with that. It's the sense that you can still be a Christian and still believe in the things that are going on, um, and still believe in some science. I'm not saying every bit of science works for you, because it might not. Anyway, guys, we're gonna switch off that topic and we're gonna go somewhere else with this while Gary uh, puts on his headset. Uh, One of the other things we wanted to cover tonight is the race issue. I did a video on it earlier today. I'll post a link to that somewhere in the description here if anybody wants to go see it. But the race card, every time we get into a political debate with anybody that doesn't believe in what we're saying, we will debate them for about an hour, maybe two, and after they've spouted everything out, and we've combated them at every single turn, they throw down the race card.
Ah, yes.
That good old I'm black, you're white, you're racist, I'm not. I can't stand it.
It's like, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Check the feed. I just want.
It's frozen at the moment.
It's frozen.
Yeah, both your video and mine.
What the fuck?
Hold on, reloading. Oh, that's back up.
Okay, yeah, it dropped 120 frames, so it must have just had a hiccup.
Damn your computer. Anyway, like we were saying, guys, it comes out every time. You cannot be racist if you're black. That's what we're told every time we turn around. You still with me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You got all quiet there.
Oh, I'm just watching my security camera. There's like a whole bunch of cars outside. I don't know whose they are.
Okay. Yeah, but and then they try to say, oh, well, you don't know what it's like to be a black man because my ancestors were slaves. Yeah. So you're not a slave now.
It's like, have you been a slave?
Yeah. Look anywhere right now in the United States. You see any slaves running around?
See, one slave, I will drop the entire argument.
Yeah. One legal slave in the United States that's black or white.
Well, they're actually, that's a good segue because there are a shit ton of black slaves in America. And they're owned by the Democratic Party, and they're paid for with tax dollars.
Yeah, that is true.
Because what people don't understand is the welfare state that we have created, I say we, the United States, but predominantly the Democratic Party, has created over the past 7 decades, happened immediately following the end of the separation. So as soon as blacks were able to go out and do what they wanted to do, they found a way to still keep them in a chokehold. And that was putting them into ghettos, keeping them poor, and giving them just enough money to live so they would feed off of them and therefore vote for them. So you have an instant, humongous voter pool right there. And you're paying for it with other people's money. And they're
Yep.
actually voting against themselves, and they don't even realize it. And they become so convinced that the Republicans and the conservatives and libertarians hate them that they willingly accept this blood money to stay in their ghettos and to keep the crime rate high, all while the people that are saying, all that while the people that are keeping them in those ghettos and such are saying how they're helping them and how they're making things better and everything's going to be better for them. So, Democrats, if you're a Democrat and you're watching this, please get in the chat and let us know, because I don't think I understand the way you're seeing things, being of sound mind. How exactly is this perpetual welfare state helping the blacks and the Hispanics and any other minority you decide to throw into these ghettos and these horrible neighborhoods?
Now, I will say that the WIC program, I don't know if that's a government program or just a Virginia program.
It's a state program.
Okay, so it's a state program. It's a state program for mothers and families that have newborns. It's a good way for them to get food, milk, stuff like that. I know I grew up on it. I grew up on that welfare cheese. And that's some damn good cheese. You had to take a blowtorch to it to melt some bitch, but it was some damn good cheese.
But think about this, and this was so I had this argument the other day about capitalism versus control.
Yep.
And so if capitalism was unrestrained, right? If we just said, you know what, business, do business, let the free market control itself, stop placing restrictions on business, and stop placing restrictions on business owners, and let's see what happens. And we'd have to do one more thing. We'd have to get rid of all of the laws that are on the books that separate people by their race, gender, sexual orientation, everything else. So that means no preferential treatment for anyone. So your labor is exactly equal from the day of your birth to someone else's labor. Now, what you do after that, your studies, your experiences, the things you get good at, your talents, all those things add to your labor. And let's see if it's possible that possibly the free market would have a solution to poverty. Because I believe in an unfeathered capitalist society, it pays for people to make money. Businesses only do business if they make money. And people only work for businesses if they make money. And so what if it was not nearly as hard for businesses to make money, and therefore not nearly as hard for people to make money, and people had more of a driving factor to go out and get experience and education that would push them forward in these careers? And then the second thing is, welfare is good, welfare is great for periods of time, because everybody makes a mistake. Everybody ends up in a bad situation. And if you're not in a situation where you have family and friends to help you out, it used to be the churches helped everybody out, and then they actually got pulled back, and the welfare system got put in place. So what if we went back to being self-sustaining as a nation? We relied less on government handouts and relied more on people doing the right fucking thing. Because the few places that still have like a community-based welfare system, so to speak, have done incredibly good. Like here in Springfield, for example, most people, even if they don't go to church and stuff, they have a church nearby, and the churches actually go out sniffing. And that's what I've always called it, church sniffing, where they go out and they say, okay, is there anybody that's in a bad situation, anybody that's having trouble pulling things together? And they go out, they give you food, they give you clothing, they give you furniture,
Oh yeah.
things like that. I mean, hell, we donated, I think, like $2,400 worth of furniture to a poor family. And the best part about that is it wasn't tax money. That was something that made me feel good because I got to give. It was something that made them feel good. They got to receive. And it
Yep.
was a face-to-face, everybody benefited from that situation. So imagine if something like welfare was turned, instead of this Robin Hood ideology of I'll take from Peter and give it to Paul, into
Yep.
Peter sees that Paul's struggling and helps Paul out. It would be an amazing thing. And it wouldn't be that cheap bullshit.
Well, David here in the chat brings up a really good point about the WIC system and how it needs to be reworked. And I will also agree with food stamps. Food stamps need to be reworked.
Yeah.
I've been on food stamps myself, and you can buy pretty much anything you want with food stamps.
Not in Missouri.
In certain places you can't.
Missouri took luxury items off the list. Now, I think some of the luxury items that they pulled off might have been I was a little upset about it, like, for example, steaks. I don't see, now, if somebody's going out and buying, three $30 steaks, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
But do I need to tell you that you're an asshole, or do you already know when you get to the checkout? That's your deal. What people need to stop doing is thinking of this shit as free money, because it's not. Like, you never thought of it as free money.
No, there's that, and there's also the fact that we really need to make it healthier. Because a lot of people these days, and I'm guilty of it, I eat a lot of sugar. I drink a lot of sugary drinks.
Not me. I'm the pinnacle of health.
Shut up. I know how many rock stars you got.
Sweet diabetes.
People go and they'll go and buy shitload of fruit roll-ups for their kids, and that's all their kids are eating. It's just straight up sugar and high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, that and those processed dinners, like the skillet meals and shit. Like, I don't feel like cooking. I'm just going to make a skillet meal. Well, you just ate 3 days worth of soul.
Exactly. People need to learn to cook for themselves. And that is something that is sadly missing in a lot of today's youth. I see kids, they're coming up into college now that don't know how to cook for themselves. All they know how to make is ramen. And I'm guilty of it. I eat ramen all the time. But it's not healthy. It's far from healthy.
Well, I'll tell you, here's a perfect example of that. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to shove my fist down your throat when it comes to eating healthy or making any other healthy choice. That's your decision. But granted, it's your decision. But here's where I kind of veer off that beaten path. So when I was in security management, I ate shit because I was on the road upwards of 80 hours a week, sometimes 90. And I didn't have time to go home and cook when I was done. So a lot of times it was fast food. Okay, not a lot of times, all the time. Maybe once a week I'd stop at like a decent restaurant and have like an actual meal, but generally it was fast food. And I was a whopping 155 pounds that entire time. I couldn't put on a pound to save my life. And then I moved. I started eating healthy, eating like real meals every night. And boom, I shot up to 220. And it's all because my body's rebounding from having absolutely no nutritional value in my food for ever.
Yeah.
So, but I always get really nervous about the government telling somebody, you need to eat this, you don't need to eat this. You can, it's kind of like when people are going, oh, well, if you're on welfare, you shouldn't be able to smoke cigarettes. That sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. You're getting government money, right?
Yeah.
If their argument is, if you can afford cigarettes, you can afford to live. And that's not even remotely true. But I understand the argument. which is if you have an extra $250, $300 a month to spend on tobacco, then you could easily be putting that back into the household. But those people that say that also don't understand addiction and how that works. So here's where I kind of fit in the middle. I think there should be a limit to the amount of time you're on welfare, other than extenuating circumstances like a serious disability or a death in the family, something like that, where you need some time to kind of become productive again. Yeah. I think anything welfare related, whether it's food stamps, cash assistance, housing assistance, all those things, I think they all need to have a deadline on them, because it went from being a safety net to being a way of life. And there are families that have gone generation after generation living off of this system. And not only is it unhealthy for our economy and it puts a huge burden on the taxpayer, but it's also completely unhealthy for the people that live on it, because they can never be productive. And as you know, if you've ever had to deal with any of those systems, including Social Security, they find ways to keep you from...
David, tell your wife to quit calling me.
They find ways to keep you dependent on the system. They don't want you to go out and say find a job, because if you find a job, then they cut you off. So there's no, oh, hey, you found a job, here's a few months, we'll just run you an extra couple months so you can get situated. No, it's done. So I think we would save a shit ton of money, and I think it would benefit far more people if we turned it back into a safety net instead of a cradle, because it's used far too much as a cradle as it is right now. Yeah. Just my opinion. I had to jump in.
No. It's perfectly... It gets to that point nowadays where people find a way to scam the system over and over and over again. Welfare is... it's one of those things where it's a good thing on one hand, it's a bad thing on the other. There's no middle ground. But I do think you're right. It should have a wait time on it. Or not a wait time.
Like a sunset.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be living off this thing for 30 years. And the thing about it is, people will always find a way to continue to get it. Because we've bred a culture that says, well, I don't have to work to make money. All I got to do is have another kid and I'm good to go.
Yeah, and that's the... I know in Connecticut we had a huge problem with the WIC program, because people were continually just, okay, my baby hit, I forget what the cutoff age was, my baby hit this age, I'm losing this amount of money, and then boom, another baby.
Yeah.
Hit that age, oh, I'm out of money. So next thing you know, you got a woman that's got 5 kids, 0 people providing for those kids, and now suddenly they become the state's kids, basically. Only the state doesn't have control of them.
Welfare babies.
Yeah, welfare babies. Exactly. And that's not fair to the kid.
No.
I mean, just so we understand what we're talking about, we're not talking about anybody on welfare as a shitbag. That's not what we're saying at all. It's the people that become dependent kind of regress, because when you're an adult, you start taking on adult responsibilities, and you start realizing that you have to provide. And when you create a family, then you have to provide for the family. You have to do what's right for the family. But when you're not actually doing something to get the money, you're no longer providing. You're just, in a way, begging. And then the kids grow up in that environment. And it's not a good environment. It's not like you're living on the nice side of town. You're living in the slums, because that's where you can afford to live.
And we're not saying that people can't break out of that mold, because there are several stories of kids who have come from homes like that to move on and do great things and become awesome members of society. I'm not saying that every person that's on welfare is bad, because that's If I did, I'd be talking about myself.
Ben Carson's one of them, who came from
Yeah.
a welfare household and became like the world's leading neuroscientist. So it's not that. It's that if I'm raising a child, I want to give that child the best chance they have at having an amazing future so they can create an even more amazing future for their child, my grandchild, and so on and so forth. Because that's how generations progress. If we start
Yeah.
cutting them off and saying, hey, you're going to live this shitty childhood because I don't feel like working, then guess what? You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying for anything, if everybody else is paying for it, you get the bare minimum. And that's bullshit. Everybody should be able to have what they want. And the only thing that stops people from going from point A to point B being what you want, point A being where you are, is dedication and devotion.
Yeah.
An idea, a plan, come up with something. I mean, there's people that, we're in America. We're literally the rags to riches country.
Oh, yeah. Big
There's
time.
no other country in the world that takes more people out of poverty and puts them into the top 20, 30%. There's nobody that competes with that.
And you know, we're coming up here on 30 minutes into this stream. We're going to try to keep this one into a 2-hour block, so it's much easier to edit later. Let's get back to the race card issue now that we've got a couple of viewers that can chime in on that. All right, so as those of you who follow me over on Facebook know, did a video earlier today talking about race card issues and race issues in general. I truly believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. It's just a way for somebody to get out there and say, rah, 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 here's what I think, fuck you if you don't like it, blah, 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 blah. But from this, especially since the shooting in Dallas, we have found out that BLM is the one that's perpetuating all of this violence. Same with the president. And I hold him responsible for a lot of it because he continues to go on TV and talk about, oh, Black Lives Matter, cops' lives don't matter at all. We should be more worried about the people in the ghettos that are being shot by cops, and cops aren't doing their job. And this is the fucking shit that he kind of pretty much said during his speech at the memorial. And it pissed me off to no end. I mean, you guys can go and check out the other video on the channel. It's about 5 hours. Just skip through it a little bit. We were pissed the fuck off. Gary's going to be down for a second or two here. He's, well, I'll leave it up to your imagination. Anyway, but from this, some good has happened. Now we have the All Lives Matter movement. All Lives Matter is exactly what it says. Everybody together to promote harmony together. But people are now calling that racist, which I don't understand because it involves all lives, not just black lives. But, it goes back to that whole thing. If you're white, you're racist. If you're anything other than black, you're racist. And they call it reverse racism. The president even used that phrase during the fucking memorial, which pissed me off to no end. Reverse racism. There's no reverse in that. You're either racist or you're fucking not. But that also comes to another question I have for you. Everybody's fucking racist. Come on now. We all have people we hate. I fucking hate ISIS. Fuck all of those fuckers. everybody has people they like. They have people they don't like. But we get along. You don't have to like somebody to wish them no harm. That's not what it's about. That's what Black Lives Matter is pushing. They want to push their whole shit just as long as they come out on top. Same with feminism. Oh, God. Don't get Gary started on feminism. It's a good thing he's away from his computer right now. We'd have another 2-hour discussion just on feminism. But they're the same way. They say that they're for the equality of the genders. And yet, it's all about how women are superior, they need to be superior, and they need to be above men. It's just common sense. So while we're still waiting on Gary here, let's see, what else should we talk about? What else have I not covered so far? I have one. Let me just say this, and it's right here on the internet, so you know, it's going to be there forever, and I don't give a fuck. But if you go out in the streets and you say, kill all white people, or kill all cops, especially if you say kill all cops, I label you as a terrorist. You are a terrorist inside the United States because you want to kill the people that you're going to call when somebody's trying to kill you. Or even better, there was a lady on television the other day during a debate that said, we need to abolish all the cops and just let community programs control the streets. Bitch, do you want to purge? Because that's how you get a fucking purge. Although, you know, she may be right. If maybe we should start the purge so I can go and take that bitch out. She'd be first on my list to go. Well, second. David knows the other target. But I mean, come on now. You can't abolish the cops just because you don't like when they come and arrest you for being an idiot. You're not going to get arrested if you don't do stupid shit. You do stupid shit, or you play stupid games, and you win stupid prizes. It's the same thing. All right, so an example. The other day, a video came out of a Baton Rouge, or I'm sorry, not a Baton Rouge, a New Orleans cop who decided, or was in an altercation with two men who were obviously had been drinking. And it escalated to the point where the one cop throws the other guy away so that he can go more for the aggressor. Now, the cop tells the guy, put your hands behind your back, grabs his arm. The guy's resisting. He's resisting. Won't listen to the cop, won't listen to the cop. So eventually, cop gets a hold of him, body slams him. And once he's on the ground, then he starts complying. And people are going, oh, that's police brutality. That's police brutality. No, it's fucking not. He didn't sit there and wail on the guy after he was down. He handled the situation to put the guy in custody. Once he was in custody, there's no fight no more. People, when a cop says stop, you stop. When he says put your hands up, put your hands up. Put them behind your back, you put them behind your back. If he tells you to stick your left leg in, take it back out, stick it back in, and shake it all about, you're doing the hokey pokey, but you're also listening to it. All right, as long as you listen, you're fine. If you have a beef, fight it in court. Because if the cop did something wrong, that judge is going to be the first one to call him out. It happens all the time. It could be anything from, not writing the proper paperwork down, missing something, or even If it's worse for assaulting you, the judge is going to throw it out. They're not automatically there to side with the cops. That's not a judge's job. His job is to be impartial. So, we got that going on. Gary, get off the toilet. I know you can hear me. What else can we cover? Sorry, when I have to sit here and think of things, you know, I'm just cursing Gary in my head because he's the one supposed to be running this show. This is his channel after all. Okay, so yeah, he does love his toilet. The biggest thing here that we can cover tonight is that we're just two men. We're not, you know, in the political circle. We're not running with, you know, running for office or anything like that. We're both just regular guys. That's what we do. You know, we go to work, we come home, we have a good time, we get on here, we play video games. We play a lot of video games. All right, we play way too many video games, but that, you know. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is we can make a change. If we talk to one person and they go, you know what? I like how this guy's talking. I may, you know, think about these things more often. That's changing the world right there. And that's what we're here for. Not to change the world per se, but change people's look on certain things. And I'll also be the first to say, I do a lot of research before I make my videos, but I don't script my videos. I don't have a piece of paper sitting in front of me that's got every little tiny statistic in front of me. Gary, he does a couple more of that, but all my shit is unscripted. When I make a video, I sit there, I ramble about what's on my heart, and I put it out to the people. And people can like it or hate it. Either way, if it starts a discussion, I'm happy. But if you throw the race card out during that discussion, I will slap you. Because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know, when I had this conversation the other day with a guy, we were having a very good debate. And I still have the chat log, so if you guys want to see it, I will take a screenshot up and put it up on my page on Facebook. But we were having a very, very good long discussion about the president and his policies until the very end. He starts going on there and says, you know what? 9/11 was a conspiracy. And then he goes on to say Pearl Harbor was a conspiracy. And then he ended that conversation with, you know what? I'm black, so you don't understand what it's like to have ancestors who were slaves. You know, he's right. I don't know what it's like to be black, as you can tell. But you know what? I do know what it's like to have ancestors who were slaves, because most of my ancestry is Irish, and the other half is Native American. But no, we don't teach about the genocide of Native Americans no more. They're still more oppressed. Go to pretty much any reservation in the United States. It's going to look a hell of a lot worse than Detroit. I can guarantee that. Also, Detroit's run by Democrats and not doing so well, are they? But that's not my business. God damn it, Gary. Wrap it up. Pinch it off. Get your ass back in here. You're like that Cartman episode. Tell your mom to come by with a pail, and you just drop it right there. So, any topics you guys want me to hit on while you're here in the chat and while we're Sitting here waiting for Gary to get his back over here. And yes, I do both. But it's been a bad month, so cigarettes it is for right now. Oh, that's something we can talk about. I know exactly what we can talk about. Seeing as, you know, we have one military veteran in the house right now, the topic of medical marijuana has come up more than a few times over the last little bit here. Personally, I'm a fan. I think that it helps people. It's been a long time since I smoked any, but I know that it helps people, deals with anxiety, pretty much cures up most PTSD, most PTSD sufferers. And all in all, it's a hell of a lot better for you than these. Because these suck. They're really, really good, though. They keep me from murdering everybody I see. But they suck. They're bad for you. Don't smoke, kids. But I think medical marijuana should come here to Virginia. I know that they passed it off here in D.C. not too long ago, where you can carry on just a little bit on your person and not be in trouble for it. I would love to see that here in Southern Virginia. I'd also like to see it, you know, be more like Washington State did. They proved that if you open up a weed dispensary and make it legal for people to go and smoke there, that your economy is going to fucking soar through the roof. And I mean, I'm not saying tax the fuck out of it, because they have. They really fucking taxed the fuck out of it. But personally, I think if you're just smoking weed to deal with your anxiety and stuff like that, I think more power to you. I don't think you should be in trouble for that. I'm not saying walk around with a pound. Although if you got the money to, share the wealth, man. Share the wealth. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's not hurting anybody. You know, as long as you're not driving afterwards, you know, and you get really fucking stoned, it's not hurting nobody. You get some with really, really high CBD content, which is cannabis oil. That actually helps people with arthritis, severe pain. Yeah, see, there Gary goes. He's finally in the chat, son of a bitch. I know he's my partner in this, but damn it, leaving me out here to drive for the past 15 minutes. Yeah, high CBD content does not get you high. It's the complete opposite. You don't get high, but you get all the relief from it, which is great, because if I'm going to go smoke weed, I don't want to be so stoned that I'm going to sit on the couch for the next 3 days and veg the fuck out. Yeah, see, most of the people here agree. What was I? I swear I didn't smoke no weed before I got on here. But I do have mental problems. Anyway, yeah, medical, you know, the VA should definitely jump on the ball with medical marijuana and say, look, as long as you do it in proper locations, you're not doing it at home, and no lies here. You know, you're not doing it at home, you're good. Just do it somewhere where they can dispense it and say, here you go. Here's whatever much they are going to allow you. Smoke it up. Get rid of your anxiety. Go home. Or shit, just send you home with a baggie full of brownies. That'll make anybody happy. Plus, you can give them to the wife. That'll make her happy too. It'll get her over her cramps. Oh shit! Don't be doing coke. Don't be doing hard drugs, shit like that. I went through that when I was younger. Yeah, exactly. Denver's pulling in all the fucking money on weed. Man, they have a fucking monopoly going. Actually, I have a family member who builds greenhouses specifically for weed manufacturers. Legal. Legal. And he's doing great. I mean, they are making so much money out there. They are just rolling in it. And crime hasn't gone up. In fact, crime's gone way down. The economy has been boosted big time. They have enough money to fund pretty much all after school programs. So why wouldn't other states jump on the bandwagon? I tell you why. It's because we got old ass fuckers in Congress who only want to do it themselves. They want to go out, and snort crack off their aides, ass crack or some shit, and then get caught and then pay off somebody. But they don't want you to have it. You can't do that. You can't go snort crack off a hooker's ass because that wouldn't be legal. Gary, quit pooping. Get your ass back in here. You can poop your pants for all I care. Because I'm running out of shit to say. What else? Oh, okay. So we covered weed. We covered all that. I got one for you. So I was reading an article the other day about Matt Damon. Everybody knows Matt Damon. He came out and said, like Liam Neeson, that he doesn't believe Americans should own guns. There should be less guns that Americans should own. And yet every movie I see him in, like Liam Neeson, he's using a gun. And he's killing lots of people with a gun. And he's making it big in action. And he doesn't go anywhere without an armed guard. That was what I was going for, was the Team America. But yeah, I mean, are these actors so fucking retarded that they don't understand how real life works? We've had this conversation about gun owners in America. We're not as violent as everybody puts us out there as. If gun owners were violent, the streets would look like the purge right now. There are more guns in the United States than there are people. And 99% of the time, we don't use our guns for anything other than self-defense, hunting, and just going out and having a good time. A good buddy of ours, not too long ago, when he got married, I remember this very well, because it was on the 4th of July. We're out there firing off fireworks, and he's a Yankee. So, he's not too used to being able to be down here in the South where you can pretty much shoot guns whenever the hell you want. So he comes up and he's like, "Hey, can I fire my shotgun off while we're shooting off fireworks?" And we're like, "We don't care." And then he disappears. Just like a little ninja. Just poof. We don't see him for about 5 minutes. So we continue setting off the mortars and everything else. And then all of a sudden, I look over in the distance and it's completely black, but I can see something walking through. And then all of a sudden, bam! And you see this flash, and it's him. He's standing there with a shotgun in his hand, shooting up at the sky with this big ass grin on his face. You gotta love Yankees when they can first shoot their guns, and they just walk out there, bam, bam, bam. Biggest smile I've ever seen on his face. Almost as big as the smile he had when he got married, but it was a good time. Yeah, we'll talk about that at one point. Uh, Gary, wipe your ass and get back in here. I am running out of shit to say, and I gotta go pee. I gotta pee. Man. Sorry, guys. I'm running out of shit to say here. I need my cohort. He's the master of ceremonies. Anyway, all right. What else was I going to cover tonight? Oh yeah, we're going to go back to Matt Damon. You know, anybody who goes out there and they make movies and they know only movie guns, right? Movie guns are always super loud, they're super easy to use, they never run out of ammo. I mean, that's not what pretty much every person is carrying. I'd love to. I'd love to have a movie gun that I could just shoot like Rambo and never run out of ammo. That'd be great. But can't. Because that's not what I can get my hands on, which is what everybody in the fucking anti-gun channel thinks that we can. They think that we can go out and buy rocket launchers and bullshit like that willy-nilly. Our own president said that it is easier for a kid to get his hands on a Glock than it is to go and get a fucking library book. Fucking really? I mean, come on now. When was the last time you could show your library ID and go get a Glock? I don't think I've ever been able to. I got to fill out all that damn paperwork. I got to sit there and wait for the ATF to send all my shit back. It's not that fucking easy. You know how it's easy to do that? When you're buying illegal guns out of somebody's trunk that have probably been used in a murder. So you're buying a hot weapon that you can't register. Yeah, I mean, that's not how criminals get their guns. They don't go into Walmart and say, I would like to buy a gun, please. Can I buy a gun? You can't. You have to go in, fill out all your paperwork, do all your stuff, and then if you're approved, you can get your gun. It's not walk in and out 15 minutes later without showing any forms of ID or anything like that. Shit just doesn't fucking happen. And I can hear that Gary is back. So speak up, nigga. Alright. Well, now that Gary is back, I will be right back as well.
I just got back from the library.
Gary's getting them Glocks.
Yeah, they didn't have any books at the library, but, you know, they did have some Glocks. So, you know, I think it worked out in my favor. Now, I can't see the chat right now until I can somehow pull it up because I've got 3 screens full of crap right now. But to kind of continue on what he was saying, I'll let him get back and run the chat because that's his deal. The big thing with all these Hollywood idiots that are continually preaching gun control, actually, any of these idiots that are preaching gun control have never actually looked at real statistics because the statistics are completely backwards of what they preach. And then you've got this propaganda mill in the government where idiots like Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, the list goes on and on, speak misinformation. And they do it like this, right? So they say something absolutely ridiculous, like he had an automatic weapon, right? Capable of firing 1,200 rounds per minute. And they say something like this, and the way they are able to pass it because they use plausible deniability, right? So you call them out on it. Well, if by chance they happen to actually engage you, they'll say, oh, I misspoke, right? But the damage is already done because the idiots that don't know anything are going to go, no, he said fully automatic. He said you can get a gun on the internet. He said you can just walk into a gun show and walk out with 50 guns that are fully automatic and shoot 1,000 rounds a second. They use clipazines and everything else.
Clipazines.
So you've got this mass of misinformation, and you can't combat it because the people that are saying it are trusted by the people that are regurgitating it. So people like you and I, we don't know anything about guns. Mr. Barack Obama, he knows. That guy, he knows about guns. He had that one picture of him shooting that like 1884 lever action rifle. So he
No,
knows.
it was an over under shotgun.
Was it?
It was an over under 20 gauge shotgun at a skeet tournament. Now on that one,
Skeet tournament.
yeah, he also tried. The White House had put out a bunch of petitions saying, "Bring down this photo. We don't want this photo out there." And they were trying legal means and everything.
Because that photo was really pro-gun, man. Wow, it made me go out and buy something.
But
it's like he said. He told the truth the other day when he said, "I've been the best thing that's ever happened to gun manufacturers because shit. Every time I say something, people go out and buy 200,000 guns." So be it.
But speaking on that picture, when they attempted to take it down, oh man, the internet had so much fun. They were photoshopping it up backwards and upside down and lasers. And one guy photoshopped a cat in his hand with a laser beam coming out the eyes.
I photoshopped a big old dick.
I've seen those too.
Because that's what I do. I put dicks on everything. But the big thing is, not to get into the gun control debate in its completion right this second, but one thing that stops things like terrorism is the possibility that it's going to be thwarted instantly. And nothing brings that possibility to bear quicker than an armed citizen. If it's not a gun-free zone in a gun-free state like California or up in New England, the chances of being able to pull something off in a place like, let's say Mississippi or Missouri or some other states. I just forgot all the states. That was weird. But any of those places, being able to get in and do your business, not going to be nearly as easy when you've got people that could potentially be armed. The best part about concealed carry is that you don't know who's armed. You can walk into a store, you can see 5,000 people. Chances of them being armed, there's probably 60, 70, 80 people out of 5,000 that are armed. You come to a place like Missouri, you're looking at hundreds out of 5,000 that are armed. Now, are they going to be able to shoot the place up when you've got 100 people ready to waste their ass? Not likely.
Exactly.
And that's when they hit countries like France, where they have really, really strict gun control. Who the hell can shoot back? Fucking nobody. Cops, when they can get there, that's the problem. Cops are awesome, but you can't carry one in your pocket. And it takes time for them to get there. And they have to risk their life to get there. They got to speed through traffic and everything else. And the bigger of an emergency is, the faster they're going to go. How many people are going to die before they even get to the issue?
Exactly. That's why we have guns. That's why you carry a gun and keep a gun in your house, because it is much easier and faster to shoot first than it is to wait 15 minutes for a cop to get to you. Even if they're right around the corner, it's still going to take them time to get to you. And all that time, you could be getting murdered or raped or whatever the fuck is going on.
Now there's another press release going on in France. I don't think it's in English, but we can hop over there and check it out real quick. At least have a little bit of footage. My program. There we go. Look at that. That's modern technology, is what that is.
Yeah, it is.
in a democracy, we all want to enjoy a substantial amount of freedom, and that means that authorities are always going to be somewhat limited in what they are able to do and say.
Oh, excuse me.
We need to strike
Well,
a balance.
that set the mood. But we're getting this footage care of France 24. I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there and give them their props. A lot of the narration is in English, but it's mostly for the visual. This is all live. Wanted to be able to bring a little bit of that to us. The biggest problem we've got now is that the terrorist attacks are increasing, not only just in the United States, but all over the country, all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got a serious problem. It's something we have to deal with, and we can't have our president ignoring it anymore, calling it different names, calling the groups different groups, and just doing everything they can to avoid calling the enemy out for who they are. It's becoming a problem.
Exactly. He doesn't want to be... Well, I had this conversation the other day. Somebody was telling me that, Bush caused all of, the wars and everything, and Obama's going to take us out. Wasn't that what he ran on in his first term? Was that he was going to pull every single person out of Iraq and Afghanistan? And yet, 7.5 years later, still there.
Well, here's part of the problem. So he pulled a significant amount of people out, right? He left
Yes, he did.
A maintenance force, which was not nearly enough for maintenance.
No.
We were supposed to train up their people to get them ready to take over. And unfortunately, what we did when we pulled out was we created a vacuum. When we created that vacuum, it left an opposing force wide open.
Yep.
And now there were already radicals. We already knew that. There were radicals from other groups. But ultimately, this third and more powerful sect kind of blossomed in that vacuum. And because we have been so passive and refusing to engage it in full force, it's now bloomed. And it's going to every country. And all these countries are suddenly accepting people from all these countries that are affected by this vacuum blossom. Oh, that's good. We should keep that vacuum blossom.
Vacuum blossom.
I like it. So, places like Syria, where they had bloomed very nicely, suddenly start becoming refugees. And they're mixing in with the refugees. And they're getting into all these other countries. Now, the majority of countries in Europe have just accepted them with open arms and are bringing them in like fat people bring in sandwiches. Dude, I just insulted Europe and fat people in one sentence. That's...
Yes.
Coming from a fat guy myself, that's pretty impressive. And now we've got this huge problem where we have our enemy all over the globe. They're in our own country, and we still refuse to call them our enemy. And if something isn't done soon, the only way we're going to be able to combat this is seriously going back to World War II tactics and just absolutely leveling entire cities. Because at this point, it is so abundant. And they're getting emboldened because they know the strongest force in the world refuses to fight them. Sorry, not the force. The person controlling the force. The force is ready to go right now. Force is ready to just go fuck shit up. They don't even care. It's the person controlling them that's going, it's not them. It's just an ideology. It's radicals. Okay, guys, it's not them. Okay. It's the Jews. Never have we in history had a president so hell-bent on pissing off our greatest allies and emboldening our enemies. Can you imagine if we had Barack Obama in 1939
Oh my God.
And we're walking into the beginning of World War II. Shit is breaking down all over the world. Countries are getting taken over. People are getting slaughtered by the million. And he's going, Japan only attacked us a little bit. Okay? Germany hasn't really attacked us. Sure, they're about to completely wipe out England, and they've already taken Poland, and so on and so forth. But, it's not them. Okay? It's not them. It's some radicals. I'm not going to lie. Some radicals. Some radicals in Japan. They've attacked us once or twice. They might have blown up half our fleet. Yeah. Yeah, it was Hawaii. I'm from there. I understand. Hawaii, Kenya.
Hawaii, Kenya.
They got lost at sea and they attacked Pearl Harbor. Oops. Oops. We can say oops. Everybody makes a mistake. Japanese make a mistake.
You know what? That brings up something that really pisses me off about the current administration is that if all this shit had happened now and Bush was in office, we would have made glass out of ISIS strongholds. They would have been fucking glass. Because he didn't give a fuck. If you attacked us, you were a terrorist. That was the label you got, and you were dead.
Yep. Well, think about it. 9/11, 2001. Our troop numbers were in the tank from the Clinton administration, right?
Yep.
He had been slowly building them up. 9/11 happens. We triple. Then we triple again. Then we triple again. Since then, we have halved that and halved that and then halved that again. We have shut more bases down since Bush got out of office than in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Now, granted, prior to Bush, say prior to 2003, we had quite a few bases that were closed down, mostly because they were relatively useless for what we're doing nowadays, right? You don't need
exactly
70 freaking ports when we have a quarter of the fleet we had during World War II. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? We really don't know right now because we can't. We're not engaging the enemy the way we should be engaging the enemy, so we don't know what kind of resources we actually need. And the good generals.
And also,
go ahead.
When it comes to the fleets, especially when you're talking about World War II, America had the largest naval fleet. We didn't use it very much, but we had the largest naval fleet. Now, what most people don't know, though, is it wasn't our Navy. Our Navy didn't have the largest fleet. It was the Army. Because back then, you had the Army Air Corps, which then became the Air Force. But we were pumping out so many things, and that was one of the things that brought us back. People say war is bad for a country. No. It's good for a country if you do it right. We were almost in the tank in World War II until people stepped up and said, you know what? We need to help out. We need to build more shit. So what did we do? We built some of the greatest assembly lines of all fucking time.
Well, look at this,
We were putting out bombers at one a day.
We had the misfortune. So our war started to really build up in 03, right? So we started really getting into the fold in 03. And 04 is when the rules of engagement changed. And suddenly we were fighting a war as if it were a police action. And our soldiers were having to fight like police officers trying to arrest everybody. And all these little things kept getting thrown in the mix, and we couldn't ramp. Because that's the benefit when you're fighting an enemy. The benefit of that war is that you get to ramp, right? So you look at multiple benefit factors, right? Like one, we're killing the fucking enemy because fuck them. And then two, the side effect is the economy booms because we're suddenly creating things for that war and for the soldiers and for the people that are disenfranchised in the region and so on and so forth.
mean, we were helping the Germans out during World War II, and the French, and Polish, and you name it, we were giving them something. But we didn't suffer nearly as much because we had a rebound economy that happened after that vacuum. The vacuum we were talking about, you're sending 75% of able-bodied men overseas. That vacuum's created. People kind of go without for a while. We were just coming out of a recession, and suddenly, boom, we got that rubber band economy, and everything boomed. And it boomed all the way through the 70s. I mean, we were living high on the hog just off of that boom. So, because we don't go as far as we used to go, because we don't hit as hard as we used to hit, we never get that rubber band boom. And our enemies never fucking die.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, because they do need to die. Because they're not dying, they keep killing other people, like they just did in France. Had we squashed ISIS like a bug, this would not be an issue. By no means would it be an issue like it is today, where the thing that happened in San Bernardino, the thing that happened up in Boston, none of these things would be a thing, because they would know, hey, look, you scored a hit. Now we're going to score 60.
Yeah.
You know, there's no threat here at this point, and that's disheartening.
By the way, you might want to check your internet real quick. A couple of us are having lagging issues.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a spike, but it's back on now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I dropped a few frames. Yep, we're back.
It's all good.
It does that every once in a while. It does this up and down bolt. But yeah, it's disheartening. And I'm sure it's disheartening for the world. When you look at everything that's happening, and who does everybody turn to when the shit's hitting the proverbial fan?
Yeah.
They go, America, what the hell, man? We're getting our asses kicked. That's what France did during World War II. They go, hey, dude, Germans, hello. And then England, hey, Germans, hello. And then finally Japan attacks us and we go, oh, okay, I'm awake.
Yeah.
What is it going to take to wake up America? I mean,
right now, god damn.
80 dead. 80 dead. What is it going to take to wake us up? I think that's what's pissing me off the worst about today. I mean, I feel horrible for France. I feel absolutely horrible, and I feel pissed. I feel pissed like 9/11 pissed. Like, this is bullshit. Why is this allowed to happen still? These people are going completely unchecked. And it's bullshit that... I mean, I know France is going to strike back, because I know they're getting sick of this. And this is the EU, dude. I hate to say it. England, you did right getting the hell out of the EU.
Yeah.
Because this is what the EU is doing. They're bringing
this is the cause of it, yeah.
Yeah. They're bringing them in. Just reeling them in, one after another. And this is what happens. Because there are radicals in with those Syrians. Lots of them. We don't know how much. It's impossible to find out how much until these things happen. Now, how many people were involved in this attack? We have no idea. Could have been 100. Could have been 5. We don't know. So how many other ones are sitting on the sidelines waiting to do another one?
And it's the same way with here in the States. You know, we're bringing these people in hand over fist, giving them houses, giving them an allowance, and yet we still got homeless veterans that could have used those houses, could have used that allowance.
And in the meantime, we're getting cities like Dearborn, Michigan to just get absolutely overrun with insurgents.
Yeah.
And what are we doing about it? We're ignoring it.
Nothing.
Because if you don't ignore it, then you're a racist or an Islamophobe or whatever a phobe.
Yeah.
Dude, seriously, at this point in world history, being an Islamophobe isn't really
a bad thing.
A bad thing. It's not unrealistic. If there's people walking around wanting to chop your toes off, and you're scared of the people who want to chop your toes off, but there's other people that look just like those people and don't want to chop your toes off, necessarily, Are you
Well,
a
see,
bad
the
guy
thing
because you're
is,
afraid of the guy
when
cutting toes off?
when you're in America and you're having people come to your government and go, I don't like your government because I just moved here and you should have my old government's laws, which demean everybody, that's a fucking problem.
I just fled this country. Can you please make your country like the country I just fled?
Yes. And it's fled, not fleed.
Shh. It's like, you know, when like illegals come over, right? So if
Yes.
somebody, let me kind of segue that. If somebody comes over here legally from Mexico, right? They're going to keep their heritage. They're going to keep all that stuff, but they're going to assimilate, right? Because they want to be Americans, and so they're going to involve themselves in America, and they're going to do things in American fashions. They're going to keep all their heritage. They're going to still celebrate and everything else, and they're going to be Mexican, but they're going to call themselves American, right? I know lots of people that came from Mexico that moved here legally and went through the pain in the ass to get here.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
illegals, on the other hand, I know quite a few of those. I've known quite a few of those. And when they come over, they don't assimilate. So they stay in that same mentality of, okay, we're never going to live nicely. We're going to live by what we can get. We're not going to really strive to go any further. And the same thing goes with refugees. A lot of refugees. I'm not saying all by any means, because there's a lot of refugees that came in the 80s and the 90s that did great and they flourished. They got their citizenship and they went out and they started businesses or went to school and became doctors and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But what we're seeing with this new influx predominantly is that they're moving into these neighborhoods and they're becoming Sharia zones. I mean, England's had it a lot worse than we have, but that's mostly because they're about like the size of the American butt crack. Like they're really small compared to us.
Yeah.
So ours is spread way out. Theirs is very, very confined. So they're adding tons and tons and tons of people who haven't assimilated into their society. And then you've got one side going, hey, this is a problem. We've got an issue here. We're getting entire parts of cities that are becoming Sharia zones.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
you've got this other group, much like American liberals, they go, no, 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 accept it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And if you say anything, there's something wrong with you. And that just frustrates me to no end. If you can't call things what they are, how are you ever going to separate the good from the bad and weed out the bad? I mean, if people want people to accept Muslims, right? I had this argument the other day with somebody. By nature, we don't want to hate all Muslims. We don't. They've been here for a very long time. But there's a very rocky history. And nobody wants to hate all Muslims. That's the vast majority of people. I'm not going to say nobody, because there's always that Bobby Wayne or whatever. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
But majority of people want to separate the good and the bad and attack the bad. Attack it with the force and veracity that we should be attacking it. But the problem is, you've got liberals going, no, 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 don't say anything. And then you've got the enablers from their own flock. They go, hey, yeah, they may do some bad stuff, but none of that. I'm done with that. It's like the whole Israel versus Palestine argument.
Yeah, that argument's always going to come up. Actually, before we go any further, we are having a shitload of problems with the stream. We're jumping around like crazy.
Oh, is it dumping again?
Yeah, it's dumping it pretty hard. We're losing like 30-second chunks. Actually went back to a couple places where we did, and it's just skipping like crazy.
How's it looking now?
Right now it's looking okay, but it seems to be doing it intermittently.
seems like every time I take my eye off of it, the number goes up. Like
Yeah.
right now, the stream looks perfect as of right now.
Stream just went
now
down
it's
for me.
dumping.
Yeah.
Now it's fine. Well, I
I don't know,
apologize on behalf of my ISP. I've got bandwidth for days. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we've got a couple of viewers here. For anybody wondering, we're very sorry about the stream. ISP's jumping around. But we're gonna try to keep this going. Will it help if we change the bit rate?
No, because I've got it at the lowest right now.
Oh shit.
I could stop it and restart it at 720p, but then it's just going to look like blocks
That's true.
because it's getting encoded at 1080, and then it'd be downsampling to 720.
Well, if it's gonna keep jumping around like this, it's gonna be pretty much unwatchable.
Let's see. Let me do a speed test real quick.
Sorry guys, we're working on it as quickly as we possibly can.
Yeah, I see it keeps dumping like 20 frames every now and again.
Oh yeah.
Down rate is off the charts. Yeah, it just did it again. Get it up. I don't know why it's dumping. I got really good ping and I got a really good up. I don't know what the hell's going on. Dumping right now. Let me try restarting my modem.
All right.
We will
All right,
come
guys.
right back. Hang tight. Satch, if you want to stay in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay. For anybody wondering, I'm gonna stay here in the chat until we're back up. And once it's up, I will put it right back up on here, guys. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Alright, should be back up.
All right. Show it offline, but I will reload it. And we're back.